Hi. For this video, what we're going to look at is setting up Simple PLC Communications. This is a little communications setup that we can do on the FX5 PLCs that allows us to get two FX PLCs to talk to each other via Ethernet and to share some simple information such as the status of inputs and outputs and values in data registers and so on. It's a really easy to set up, really straightforward way just to get some information swapping over between them. So we're going to go through the process here. So the first thing we're going to do, again, I have my two systems here. I've got PLC1 on the left, PLC2 on the right. I have a file here that just has the IP address I have for each of them, and then the type of communication I want to set up between each of them. Okay, so we'll start first of all with PLC1. We'll set the IP address on that one. So PLC1 is down here again to parameters, FX5 CPU module parameters, and the Ethernet port. Just double tap on that. And we might as well go full screen on this here for the moment so we can see it. So basic PLC settings is where we want to be. IP address is the first thing we're going to tap in here. So we want 192.168.003.100. And that's the IP address we had for PLC1. And then the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Okay, so we just set that up like that, and then we click apply. And we're going to set up PLC2 with the IP address. And we just check the file here. So it's going to be 192.168.3.200 for PLC2. So PLC2, there we go. So again, parameter, FX5 CPU module, Ethernet port. I'm going to set the IP address in here. 192.168.003.200. And again, the subnet mask is the same, 255.255.255.0. And we'll click apply on that. Okay, so that's our IP addresses set. Obviously, we'll have to write the parameters and everything, but we'll set up the Simple PLC Communications before that. So let's just go back here for the moment. So what do we want to do here? So if we look at PLC1, let me just highlight that there for a minute. What we want to do here with PLC1, we set the IP address. We're going to get it to read from the other PLC, and it's going to read data register 10 on the other PLC, and it's going to bring that into D100 on, so the destination PLC is the one that's doing the reading, so back on PLC 100. Okay, so let's just step through that here with the program. So PLC1. So we're in the Ethernet port parameters here. We've set up the IP address. So then we go down here to just application settings, click the plus on that, and you'll see here Simple CPU Communication setting. We double tap on that, and Simple CPU Communication setting, not to use at the moment. We want to change that to use, and then we want to go into the detailed settings here. So we'll double click on that. Okay, and this is the window where we can set up this communications now. So we want to, just to go back to the Excel file again here, we want to do a read in this case here. So we set the communications pattern here to read. Okay, so it's fixed interval. This is 100 milliseconds. So it's going to do this read every 100 milliseconds essentially. The source, so where are we going to read from? Well, that's the other PLC. So we need to set this up here. So the device type, we click the drop down, and it is an IQF, okay, with built-in Ethernet because it's the FX5. That's the type of PLC we want to talk to. And then we give it the IP address 192.168.003.200 because that's the one we want to read from. Okay, and then we just click OK on that. When we do that, then we can see that the destination becomes the PLC that we're actually reading, or this PLC1 here. Okay, and then over here, then we have a choice. So we have bit devices here. So the bit devices, I'll just click the type here for a second. That's our inputs, outputs, M coils, and our other special M coils and that. Okay, we want to do a data register here. So if we keep moving over here to the right, we have the word devices, and this is where we'll find in the drop down here our data registers. Okay, so it's the source. Where are we reading it from? All right, so again, just check with the Excel file. we wanted the read device source, so D10 is what we want to read here. Okay, and sorry, the destination will be D100. So the start here is D10. Okay, and we only want to read that one, so it's starting and ending at data register 10. It's just that one data register we want to read. Okay, and then the destination, then where do we want to put it? Well, we want to put it into a data register, and we're going to put it into data register 100. Right, now you see when you enter that, the end is grayed out because it will map whatever number of data registers we've chosen in the source. So if we had 5 data registers in the source, it would start at 100 and map the next 4 onto that. Okay, so that's it. Simple as that. We set up the read and the destination. Then we can click apply on that. Okay, so we've set our IP address and we've set our Simple PLC Communications. Okay, on PLC 1. Once we've done that, we haven't set up the simulation on this yet, so we'll hold fast on writing anything for a moment. We're going to finish setting up PLC 2. So PLC 2, let's just get the information here. PLC 2, what are we doing with PLC 2? Let's highlight this here. Okay, so in the green, we are going to write. So we're going to use PLC 2 to write back to PLC 1. Okay, and we're going to be writing the inputs in this case here. So let's tag back over to PLC 2. And so again, we've already set the IP address on PLC 2. Just double check up here, make sure we're in the right place. Application, and then Simple PLC Communications. We're going to change that to use, and then we're going to go into the detailed settings. Right, so in this case, we want to write. Okay. Again, fixed interval 100 milliseconds is how often it's going to do it. The source is the PLC that we're writing from, and the destination is going to be our other PLC. So again, click on the 3 dots. The PLC type on the drop down is the IQF, so it's an FX PLC we're looking at, and then we put in the IP address. So 192.168.003, and it's 100 we want to write to. Okay. So this time it is the bit devices because it's the X's, the inputs that we want to send here. And so again, let's just double check what are we doing. We're going to read X0 to X16. So even though this is a bit device read, okay, or write, sorry, the read is the same. Even though this is a bit device write, if we're choosing the inputs, we write as 16 bits. It writes a word anyway. So when I go here, when we put in X0, so if I type here, sorry, the source is X, and we're starting at 0. Okay, if I just try to write, let's say 3 of them, if I go 3 like that, I'll get this error here. It says it must be 16 points. So it'll input the data and it'll change it to 17. So it'll write the 16 inputs. Okay, now 0 to 15 would be 16 bits. But remember, for the inputs, we don't have an 8 and 9. So that's why it's X0 to X17. Okay. Then the destination. So where are we going to write it to? Our Excel file again will tell us what we're doing here. We're going to write it to M100. Okay, from M100 to M115. So once we choose the destination here, we choose it to be an M coil, and then we put in 100. Again, we can't actually choose 100 because it has to be on the 16-bit count. Okay, so it's going to be 112 to 124. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our Excel file and say, right, we must change that. So it's going to be 112 to 124. We need to update our schedule based on that. Okay. But again, once we put in the first digit here, the last one is automatic because it must match whatever we're reading with the same number. Okay. And again, we're done. So we click apply. So now we've both PLCs set up with our communications. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop, this is PLC 2, we'll pop that to the right of the screen. We'll grab PLC 1, we'll pop it to the left of the screen. And I don't have any program in these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the two of them up to simulate, and we'll just see some information being swapped over between them. So to set up the system simulation, we're going to go simulation, system simulation, start system simulation. Add a system, We're going to add PLC1. I'll go through this a little bit slower in another video. Then we're going to add a second system. We need to go in and select PLC2. Okay. Then we need to connect up the systems. So we go back here to debug, system simulation, connect system. And we want to connect this one to system 1. There's our PLC1 in there. And then debug on the other one, simulation, system simulation, connect simulation. And this is going to be system 2. So we can see now on our simulator window here that we've got both of them in. Okay, and then we can start the simulation. That starts up our simulator, but we have our error because we need to load our programs. So we go to online, write to PLC, programs and parameters, execute, close, resets the simulator, close, and that one should be running, and it is. Then we go to the other one, write to PLC, parameters and program, execute, close, reset the simulator, and close. So now they're both running. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to put values in the watch window here, and hopefully we'll see something happening. Okay, so let's go back to our Excel file. On PLC1, we're reading D10 from PLC2 into 100 on PLC1. So we're going to set up D10 over here. Okay, and we're going to set up D100 over here. And if I change a value in this one, okay, you can see it changes over here. So if I put 20 in on the PLC2, because PLC1 is reading that, you can see the value changes to 20 there. Okay. The other thing we're doing is we're mapping the X's here. So let's go for X5 on this one. Okay. And I'm going to put in M0. Sorry, it wasn't M0, it was M120. So M112, M113. Oh, sorry. 113, M114, M115, 16, 17, 18. Okay, now if X5 goes high over here, we see M17 goes high on the other PLC. So we're taking the X5 here and we're writing it to the other one. Okay, now as I see, in that situation, we only need to set up that communication on one PLC. So we can either read or write. We don't have to set up a read and a write for the same thing. So we're either writing it to one or we're reading from one. And I suppose it's more of an operational decision as to whether we're writing or reading or which way we're looking at it. Okay. But that's our Simple PLC Communications setup. Putting in the IP addresses, setting up the Simple PLC Communication to read something, and then starting up the simulation in this case and getting it to run there. Okay, so that's the end of that one.